Welcome to Prime Latino Media Salon. I am honored and privileged to have Alejandra Ramos Riera, born in Puerto Rico, of a Puerto Rican father and a Cuban mother. Yay! Uh,
Yes.
and who now lives in Harlem, in New York City, in Manhattan. And she is one of three participants who have been featured in the first episode of the PBS series on the All Arts channel, From Performers to Spectators, COVID-19 NYC, where we interviewed a total of 18 artists spread over 6 episodes. Each episode has 3. And Alejandra is kicking off the series on Monday, June 6th, 7 p.m. on the All Arts channel. And if you don't have access to it and can't see it, within 24 hours after that, there will be a link available on the allarts.org site, and you'll be able to get a link and see that and all future episodes. But I'm really happy to invite Alejandra Ramos Riera. And what I want to start off with, you're I want to say you're a playwright, you're an actor, you're a teacher. You're also, we're going to see in the show, you're also a photographer, but that your interview of the 3 interviews was done completely in Spanish. I know because I had to help with the subtitles, but so how did that feel? You know, in the midst, you were interviewed at the height of the pandemic during the first trimester, I would say. How was it being interviewed as an artist in your native tongue of Spanish?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. I am very pleased to be here. It's truth, it's an honor. I have to say it was a humble experience. Obviously, my emotions, as well as a lot of people's, were like at the high level. To have Melissa, which is a beautiful human being, coming to my apartment and interview me, the first question that she asked me was, how do you want to be interviewed? She wanted me to be as comfortable as possible. And I immediately said Spanish because why not? That's my mother language. That's where I come from. And I think what I did with the photographies that I took, it was very intimate, and it spoke through my own voice and through my own feelings. So that's why I chose Spanish.
And the interesting thing is Melissa Ramos is the creator of this 6 parts docu-series on PBS All Arts channel. And that though both of you were born in Puerto Rico, you didn't know one another really till here. How did that meeting come about? And how did you trust Melissa in your house when 35,000 people died in New York City? We didn't trust anybody. I mean,
Right.
and you conducted this interview in your studio apartment, so it wasn't like you could run to different rooms. And so I'm curious, for someone you didn't know very well who came to your house at the height of the pandemic, how was that?
Well, I do have to say that I met Melissa before. I met and worked with Melissa in New York before the pandemic. I was actually I worked for her as her assistant production. I did documentaries with her at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies. So we had that connection and relationship, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. We get along really well. We respect our artistic views, and we both share a huge responsibility when it comes to art and artists. So I have no doubt that it was going to be a beautiful experience, and I trust Melissa blindfold. Like I don't think twice. And she's great at interviewing because she makes you feel comfortable, and she doesn't impose anything, and she lets you just be free with your speech. And so that's not everyone does that. So yeah, it was
What's
great.
remarkable about your story, within the framework of COVID-19, within the first, in 2020, we were all going mad, and especially in New York City, which was the epicenter, that you are most known as a playwright, as an actor, as a teacher, but that you expanded your artistic horizons in one of your hidden penchants of photography, and you're stuck in a studio apartment where you were losing your mind like so many of us were, and you decided upon one enlightening moment to start photographing yourself utilizing what you had at hand, which was a refrigerator, a kitchen sink, a bathtub, a dining room table, and you created this marvelous photography that just blew me away. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, so I'm essentially a playwright, and I was writing a lot just before the pandemic, and I encountered myself with a writer's block, like a heavy writer's block. I couldn't write. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to write anymore. It was like, it was, yeah. I was afraid even. So I just needed to find a creative outlet because I was gonna go crazy. I mean, I was crazy, but I was gonna go crazier. I desperately needed a creative outlet. And that's when this hidden talent and hidden, passion came to my mind just by staring at my fridge. I'm staring at my fridge, and it's like the fridge spoke to me, and it's like, yeah, come inside. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you want to get inside here. So I started looking at everything as a potential setting for a photograph, and me as the subject, and using my elements, the elements that I have in my studio apartment, and just exploring with them and asking questions. What would it mean? So it was the moment I got into the fridge, I was obsessed, and it became a great, not only creative outlet that I was looking for, but also an experience of freedom, of excitement. I remember every time the photo every time I was checking the pictures that I would take, my heart was racing. Like I felt like I was on stage in front of the 200 people, that was the same feeling that I had.
Which is what connected these 18 artists was they were all missing a live audience.
Yes.
All public spaces were closed in New York City during that period. So that was one thing that was the common thread with all these artists. But what was also magnificent about your pictures as a woman who took control of her household objects, and that you also took nude photos without showing any frontal nudity, without any gratuitous nudity either. Like, for instance, how did you do the bathtub scene where, describe to me what went into the making of that picture and what was the end result?
The bathtub one? Yeah, so I finished up with my sink, with my fridge, with my dining table, and I was literally scouting.
And I want to add, she's sitting inside the fridge with an open fridge. She's sitting in her kitchen sink, nude, but photographed from the back. She's got this perfect pear-shaped body where it just flowed with the objects around her. And then she also does something in the bathtub. So describe to, those that are not seeing that picture and what they'll be seeing ultimately. Describe what went into it before, during, and after.
Yeah, so the bathroom one was essentially that. I already did some of the objects, and I thought, oh, I haven't done anything in the bathtub. And I've always loved bathtubs. Like, oh, I love them. And also it was a challenge for me lighting wise. So I started playing with the light and the water. And in general, it was a way of showing the vulnerability that everyone was going through. But, and also the loneliness, I think that the bathroom one was a sad situation. That also carried beauty, and we were all there. So I just decided to do it. It was very following my instincts, really. And again, with what I had, I remember I had these flowers. I put them there, and then I had this table, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to transform the bathtub like it was a living room. I'm going to put the table inside it, drink coffee, eat an apple, read a book. Like, why not? Like transforming spaces and using creativity to use spaces not as they are. Like, anyone, if they want to, could sleep at their bathroom. Okay, we don't do it, but hey, who says we can't?
Sometimes I threaten my guests, you know what, you're going to sleep in the bathtub tonight. But and
Yeah.
also because we also come from a water culture of the Caribbean. So when you say,
Right.
we love swimming pools, we love the ocean, we love anything that involves water, be it what the touch or the sound. So what's interesting to me is, so did you have all your equipment? And also describe, films are being shot now with iPhones, and you took your photography. So the quality can actually be very high resolution and powerful quality. Describe, did you have all the equipment you needed, knowing that all these places were closed, or did you have to supplement anything? Or did you literally work with everything you had at hand?
Well, I did not. I did have an iPhone, but it wasn't it wasn't one. So the resolution wasn't the best. But that's what I used at the beginning. And then at one point when I got really into it, I did order this very humble lights, with a few colors. It's a blue one, a blue tone, and a reddish tone. And I played with those. The iPhone stayed the same. I just had a tripod that it was easier for me, but I kept on running to take the pictures, waiting for the timer, and then stood there and I took thousands. And then I went to the editing process, which I didn't research a lot. It was just a matter of deciding which picture I should take and being careful for it not to be too blurry, etc. But it got to a point that I just realized, wait, I can leave the camera, like the video rolling, and I can just move along and then take screenshots. So I did that too. It was just, it was in the going. I had no idea before but I do have to say it was essentially with what I had, and nothing big, no big equipment, nothing expensive, not at all.
And what I love that you touched on is, I hate when I have artists who say, oh my goodness, if I had $10,000 more, this would have been a spectacular production. And my attitude is, if you're truly a good artist, you can act out of a paper bag. So that when you
Absolutely.
say to me, so that I didn't know, I assumed, oh my God, she had an iPhone Pro Max, 12, or, but that the content was so well expressed and conveyed that you never saw inferior quality, because what you saw was a great, inspiring story by someone who had artist block and then gave a whole new twist on life. So is this something you're going to continue doing now that you've gotten the photography bug out of your system and you're very good at it? Is this something that you see pursuing more?
I think so. Yes, yes. Once I get back on track with everything, or we're going back to whatever normal it is. But yeah, absolutely, it's something that is never gonna leave myself again. Especially this kind of photography that they come from within, and they don't try to please anyone. They just it's an extension of my own voice, and with that, I inspire people, and that's, for me, that's the best thing about it. I
And
get to inspire people.
let me ask you, because the photos are so phenomenal. And I'm sure at the time it was therapy for you, but I mean, I see an exhibition, I see, like, where will you be taking this photography? Is it dying with the pandemic, or is it going to take a life of its own? Because I really feel the world should be seeing your photography.
Thank you. No, I mean, I don't want them to die at all. And this, and what Melissa did, and this interview that you're doing right now, sets that it's not going to die. It's not.
No, it can't.
So I know I will love the idea of a small, exhibition. I would love to be together with my writing, maybe exploring what is it that I was feeling, the writer's block, but also I think there's a specific history and behind each photo that it could be also fiction. I don't know. So I think there's a lot of possibilities. I do wanna work on it eventually. Yeah.
So I have to say, I'm, with Melissa Ramos, I'm also co-executive producer with her on the series. That what really made me buy into this was how inspiring these 18 stories are. It isn't just like how horrible our lives were during that period, and we all suffered. And again, over 35,000 people died in New York City. We were the epicenter, but that you found a silver lining. So talk to me about how your photography as an artist during a very bleak period of our history and a chapter in New York's life, how that flipped a switch and inspired you, because your story is inspiring us.
Yeah. It inspired me by knowing that there's no limit for creation, creativity, and that art is very, 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 and the amount of happiness that the process of this picture gave to me, it was, I learned a lot from it, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of this madness out there, you know, like what's going on in the world, specifically in New York by the time. And I'm still getting very excited and happy with this project that I just came up with. So the idea that the power of art and the possibilities, and how my own creations and idea can inspire me, but at the same time inspire others. I think that's you know, a beautiful thing, and there's no words to put on it. I mean, it's very, very huge and powerful, and it will not end. It's like endless. Art will be forever, and you know, and it's it will be great if we all can reach that point, even if it's 1 second, 1 minute in your life, you know, even if you're not an artist, to explore that creativity inside you, and just let yourself grow with it and feel it and experience it.
I want to ask you two last questions before I let you go. Your sister, you come from a family of actors and directors. Your sister is on PBS with American Masters documentary feature on Rita Moreno called
Yes.
Just a Girl Who Decided to Go For It. How interesting, and how do you feel that your sister's on PBS and now you're going to be on PBS for a long time with this series, From Performers to Spectators, COVID-19 NYC, and that you're, you know, that yes, you premiere Monday, June 6th, but you're going to be there for a long while. And so both you and your sister are on PBS in the United States.
Well, that's, first of all, unimaginable. I mean, I would never thought that would happen. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. My sister is older than me. I grew up also looking at her, you know, like, wow, admiring her, and I'm so honored for this to happen. My sister is an incredible artist, great director and editor. And for us, and by the way, I think she doesn't know, I will give her the news today. But it's funny because we are working together on a movie right now. So I don't know, maybe our energies are like synchronized, and yeah, I think we're gonna do a lot of great things together. And this is a great platform to just start sharing our creations, even if it's, you know, on separate matters and ideas, but it's great.
So my last question is, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to even ask you to choose, but you're a playwright, you're an actor, you're a teacher who's teaching the arts, and now you're a bona fide photographer. If you thought you were a quasi photographer before, I'm telling you, for someone who owned an international photographic agency, you have, as we say in Spanish, the eye. You are a photographer. But what I see more than anything is you're a storyteller. So in closing, what advice do you have for an artist who is a storyteller, but going out of their comfort level and exploring another territory that maybe they didn't consider exploring before?
Well, usually what keeps you from getting out of your comfort zone and exploring other artistic manifestation is fear. So I will say not to run away from fear, but rather face it, understand it. Give fear a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, sit down with fear and talk with fear, and just understand, first of all, like validate whatever you're feeling, try to understand it, and just go for it, and not be afraid to jump to not be afraid of that void or anything, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen that you don't like it, that maybe it doesn't go anywhere. You just keep trying, and it's therapeutic. It is. And as long as you listen to your inner voice, that's always there saying things to you and whispering, just go for it. Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid.
Yet interesting, the very, very last thing is that you touch on fear, but you also spoke that your art was about vulnerability. How do we make that bridge between vulnerability and fear and overcome it to be the inspiring storyteller that you are about a dark chapter in our history?
Yeah, I think vulnerability comes from understanding that fear too. Like the moment you make amends with it and begin, because maybe you never finish to understand, but begin to understand, you will reach a point of allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And then in arts, when you are vulnerable, for me is when you wish to more and more people, because you're not using anything to cover anything. You're being very open. You're letting yourself speak without any layers, any makeup, if you will. And the moment you do that, a lot of people are going to listen and to feel like you're talking through them too. You're giving voice to other people through your own voice, because we're in this universe together. And my fears are also your fears and your fears, and we have fears in common. We have common fears. So that line of restraining ourselves to speak and be honest to ourselves, we will create the possibility to speak to and from everyone.
Well, I respect the fact that you recommend to have a cup of tea, tilo, as we say, chamomile, always calms the soul, and or a cup of coffee. Can we have a glass of wine together one day?
Please. We'll love it.
Hecho, prometido, done. I'm Tío Louis for Prime Latino Media Salon, and my head goes down in total respect for Alejandra Ramos Riera, who's in the first episode of the new series on PBS, the All Arts channel, From Performers to Spectators, COVID-19 91 NYC, and there are 18 inspirational stories. Every 30-minute episode, there's 6 of them, has 3 artists, and she's going to be kicking the series off with 2 others on Monday, June 6th at 7 p.m. And then you'll be able to access it through a link by going on the allarts.org site. And again, thank you. Prime Latino Media Salon, y hasta la próxima. Y una copa de vino, ¿ok?
Una copa de vino. Salud.
Chao, hasta luego.
Chao.